So this image is of a leaf, and sometimes it's really difficult to remember where we are when we start looking at anatomy of plants because it's so small we can't see this with the naked eye, and it gets a little bit confusing. Okay, so as we go through this, we're looking at the cells that make up a leaf, the parts that make up a leaf, and to help us better understand how they actually function. So when you're looking at this picture, just know this is the top side of the leaf. If you're holding a leaf in your hand, this is the top side of the leaf. This is the bottom of the leaf. And this has been zoomed in, magnified so much through a microscope that this is the middle or the cross section of the leaf. Okay, so we're holding a leaf. We've cut it in half so that we can see the cross section of the leaf. And this is what is filling the leaf. This is what is providing the color and the function of that leaf. Okay, so let's start with that top side, just to kind of orientate ourselves a bit with the parts. The very outer side is the cuticle. Okay, so this up here is the cuticle of the leaf. That is the skin, the outer surface, if you will, the part that you're actually touching when you're holding the leaf. Next is the upper epidermis. And this epidermis, meaning skin, okay, that is the kind of the inner part of that leaf. And so depending on species, depending on where that leaf is growing, if it's in the open sun or if it's in the shade, may have different thicknesses and textures to the epidermis, but that is the protective part of the leaf. You'll find that on the top side and also on the bottom side, lower epidermis and cuticle. So they both have the same function, that they both are protection for the tree. They both help keep moisture in, and it acts as a suit of armor essentially for the more delicate cells inside. Okay, once we get inside of the leaf, we've got this area called the mesophyll. And this is basically making up the main inside of the sandwich. If the cuticle and upper and lower epidermis are the bread, the mesophyll is the meat inside the sandwich. Okay, the mesophyll is broken into two parts, palisade and spongy. They are essentially the same thing, and you can see from the drawings that they contain the same parts. They're just different shapes, and they're also organized differently. So let's talk about the Palisade Mesophyll first. They are very well organized. They are kind of standing stacked side by side, and the reason for that is the Palisade Mesophyll is where the sun is captured. Okay, so if we look inside one of these cells of a Palisade Mesophyll, I am outlining right now, roughly, the cell wall. Okay, that is the protective layer. Remember, plant or animals don't have cell walls. We, as animals, have a bony skeleton structure to hold us up. For plants, they have this hard cell wall. That is their protective layer to give them rigidity. Within that cell wall, we have the vacuole, this big space inside. Okay, this is often moisture filled, and this is what gives, or sap filled, you may see it referred to, and that is what gives the moisture to the plant. Okay, if that is dry, water is lost from there, and then a plant wilts. As you water it, the plant opens up again. This is the area of the tree that is fluctuating. It's the vacuole. Okay, also acts as a storage dump where basically after tree metabolism, parts that may not be used are sent here, and this acts as the storage dump. Okay, outside of that, you have the nucleus, basically kind of the brains of each cell. We have the cytoplasm, which is this area to the outside of the cells, so the perimeter, if you will, and within the cytoplasm we have this, the very important little green shapes that you see. This is the chloroplast. Within the chloroplast contains chlorophyll, and that is the pigment that is used to capture the sun. Okay, when light reflects off of chlorophyll, it's green. It appears green. That's why plants look green. And that chlorophyll within those chloroplasts captures the sun's energy for photosynthesis. Okay, so it makes sense then, if the sun is up here and shines down, usually trees orientate themselves so that the sunlight lands on top of the leaves. That's where it's going to capture the most sunlight, and that's why the Palisade Mesophyll is so organized along the top side of the leaf. During photosynthesis, a couple things happen. A byproduct of photosynthesis, essentially a waste product from the photosynthesis process, is created called oxygen. And oxygen needs to leave the leaf. Remember, between the cuticle and the epidermis, top and bottom, it's that protective layer, and moisture won't be able to get through, and neither will oxygen or carbon dioxide. So on the underside, we have a maze or a web of spongy mesophyll that oxygen is going to exit, and it's going to find its way out through a stomata. Okay, so oxygen goes out. That way, that byproduct is released, and as the oxygen goes out, as the stomata open up, carbon dioxide and some moisture. Moisture is interesting because it can come in this way, but moisture is also lost this way, coming out through transpiration. Okay, so anyways, that can go both ways, but often moisture is lost through with the oxygen. It's a trade-off that the tree has in order to take in the carbon dioxide that it needs. Okay, its source is at the leaves, so those guard cells are the regulators of the stomata. The guard cells are the ones that they open and they close as is needed for carbon dioxide to get in and for oxygen and some moisture to be released. Okay, they will open and close depending on weather, depending on times of the day. During extreme heat, they may close because the leaf will dry out too quickly, and they'll open more in the evening for gas exchange. They're a fascinating part of the tree. Where we have seen stomata so far in the class is sometimes we talk about a different leaf color on the underside of a leaf. And so far we've talked about that a lot with conifers, where there'll be a whitish color on the underside of the leaf. Quite often that color is given by the stomata, only they're so small that we don't notice them with our naked eye.